Summer is here, which means we all want to look and feel our best. A GLP-1 may be right for you. Visit orderlymeds.com to learn more about which GLP-1 you could be eligible for. Getting started is fast, easy, and happens virtually through telemedicine from licensed professionals. Check it out for yourself. Go to orderlymeds.com/podcast. That's orderlymeds.com/podcast. Taking care of yourself feels great. Compounded medications are not FDA approved. Eligibility required and determined by a licensed provider. Individual results may vary. See website for details.
Hey now! How you doing, friends? Welcome to Scott Fox After 9. July the 14th. It is a Tuesday, and this week is getting interesting. Donald Trump is going to address the American people Thursday night at 9 o'clock. Is this a big fat nothing burger, or is something interesting coming? I'm very curious to find out. I've got a lot of audio to play for you on this episode, and I'm going to tell you I'm doing it quick today. It is scorching hot outside, and I'm sure you've got other things to do, but I want to get you informed. I think it's important that you be informed and you hear from the newsmakers with all of the context that you should hear and that you're not getting from the mainstream media. First off, let's deal with U.S.-Canada trade. I want to hear from the U.S. ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra. He sat down for an interview with the awesome team at Northern Perspective. They do really, really great work on exposing some of the things that the mainstream media is not involving our government. So if you're not already following them, look for Northern Perspective on social media. They sat down for an interview with Pete Hoekstra. This is about a minute long. Listen to this very carefully.
Now, the narrative that Canadians are seeing through what the politicians have been telling us from the government and the mainstream media is that it seems like they're presenting it that the U.S. walked away from this. And from what you're saying, that doesn't sound like it's the case.
No, I don't think we ever walked away. You're talking to some great deal makers there. You're talking to the president who loves to make deals.
Prides himself on making deals.
And prides himself on making deals. You have one of his best friends, Howard Lutnick, who prides himself on making deals, and they love to make big deals. And a deal between Canada and the USA is a huge deal. That's a big deal. They like this stuff. The bottom line is, again, from our perspective, it may have been that there was never anything out there that generated enough interest that say, hey, yeah, let's go. This is really, really interesting, which is what we had in October.
We had a deal. Canada blew it up. By the way, great sound quality on that. It is amazing that with a $1 billion budget from the taxpayers, the CBC can't produce audio quality that sounds that good. Good job to Northern Perspective. You can see the full interview with the ambassador on their social channels. Let's get back to what he said, though. It was Canada that walked away. I don't know what the truth is, but I think this is something that our mainstream media should be covering fairly. The vast majority of Canadians think we have been screwed at every turn. Sounds like we had a deal back in October, and we walked away from it. I'd like to know more about that, and I'd like to see more honest reporting from the mainstream media about Canada-U.S. relations. It seems like they're only trying to show you the good, sweep the bad under the carpet, and make Canadians think that we're in some massive turmoil with America. In reality, we're not. And if you've been to America recently, you know that the Americans are pretty happy about Canadians. They're treating us pretty well. But they're also a little bit curious about what their president has told them, that Canada is being unreasonable. I think that sentiment is starting to prevail a little bit in America. That doesn't help us if our whole goal is to wait for the midterms. In fact, that galvanizes the American people behind their current government. We've got to rethink things, and we need more honest coverage from the media. President Trump came up there. As you may have noticed, the conflict with Iran is back on again, and gas prices are going crazy. In southern Ontario, gas prices are expected to go up 8 cents a liter at midnight tonight, and then another 4 cents a liter on Thursday. All because of this conflict with Iran. It just won't end. Well, the president talked yesterday about what the big issue seems to be, the Strait of Hormuz. Somehow, we obliterated the Iranian military, but we can't stop them from firing missiles at ships in the Strait of Hormuz. That doesn't add up to me. I don't understand why the Americans didn't take the strait when they did the initial invasion or attack. That would have made sense. Secure that up. That's obviously a big choke point. Anyway, I'm not a military strategist. Let's hear what the president had to say about this yesterday.
And we're hitting them very hard, and it'll continue, and we'll see what happens. But we're knocking out all of their offensive capability, and we're controlling the straits. We're putting the blockade back. And it's a blockade not for anybody but Iran. In other words, anybody doing business with Iran can't go through. Everyone else will be able to go through. So it's a blockade. It's a very strong blockade.
Okay, so we're blockading the Strait of Hormuz again, and like clockwork, gas prices are shooting up through the roof. Can we figure this out, please? There's got to be a better way. We can't possibly be held hostage by what's going on over in the Strait of Hormuz, and that means Canadians sitting in a country full of oil have to pay ridiculous prices. When do we put Canada first? When do we do that? Can we not allocate some of that oil in the oil sands and create a reserve here in Canada for Canadians so that when prices go nuts, even if it is just a temporary spike that lasts a couple of days, people are going to get ripped off in those couple of days? There's got to be a way to stabilize our own prices. For God's sake, they don't pay this much for gas over in the Middle East. Clearly something is different. Here's another one from the president.
There are reports about Iranian drones in Cuba. There are concerns about that. Where does the relationship with the U.S. stand there? Is military intervention still on the table there?
Well, if they do have that, and they might very well have that, we'll take care of it. Marco's just in the other room. And if they do have that, we'll take care of it in short order. We're not going to have a problem. We're not going to allow that to happen. So it could be that they're storing some. We're looking into it now. It could be so, and it maybe isn't.
That couldn't seriously be true, could it? Is there a possibility that Iran has been shipping drones to Cuba to launch an assault on the American homeland? Why would Cuba allow themselves to get drawn into that? I mean, they've got a lot of problems with America themselves, namely because America stopped allowing oil to be shipped there. They want to see that regime go away and have a democratically elected government in Cuba. Okay, fine. You mean to tell me on the way out the door, the current Cuban government is storing Iranian drones? I'd be shocked if that's true. I don't know where that report came from, but that's a weird one.
These probably would no longer be with us because you saw they sent missiles to 5 different countries that never even knew they were involved because they're stone cold crazy. They are crazy. And we're not going to put it up. Yeah, I want to be reimbursed because we're protecting a very rich portion of the world. We're spending money. And so what we've done is we are going to be reimbursed for protection. We're protecting by the countries that we're helping. For instance, you look at the 5 countries. You have Saudi Arabia, you have UAE, you have Qatar, or Qatar as I always say, you have Qatar, Bahrain, and by the way, you have others. You have Kuwait, and you have others, and they will do very well. But we think it's appropriate that we don't need them. You know, we have more oil than any other country in the world. When you add Venezuela, which has been amazing, which has tremendous amounts of oil that we control. When you add Venezuela and everything else, we have more than 50% of the world's supply. We don't need it, but we need it from the standpoint of protecting allies, et cetera, including Israel, including Saudi Arabia, including Qatar, including UAE. We're protecting all of them, and we've done a very effective job. So 4 months ago, these people had military that was very strong, by far the strongest probably in the Middle East. They were called the bully of the Middle East. Now they don't have a Navy. They have 159 ships underwater. They had a total of 159 ships. Now every one of them is underwater. They had 230 airplanes, attack planes. They're all gone. They're gone. They had tremendous radar. It's all gone. They had tremendous anti-aircraft. It's all gone. Sadly, their leadership is all gone. They had their first-tier leaders are all dead. Their second-tier leaders are all dead. Their third-tier leaders, who we're dealing with, more or less, some of them are already gone. And then you read fake news like your network, CNN, which is fake news. You read them, you have them say, well, actually, aren't they doing quite well? Let me just tell you, They have now inflation of over 300%. 4 months ago, they had inflation of 5%. Now they're at over 300, could be 350%. They made a deal, they broke it, probably 10 times. And they killed a lot of people. They killed our people. But the protesters, what they've done to the protesters, 52,000. Have you ever seen any of the burial lots where they're burying the protesters? They killed 52,000 protesters, and on my watch, they can't do any of that. So we have them in a position that they don't have any military. There's not a thing they can do about it. All they have is fake news, because they have the fake news, would rather see us lose the war than win the war, which is really treasonous, in a certain way. So we're doing another very major attack tonight. They want to make a deal. They came back. We made a deal 2 days ago, and they want to make a deal. They've been negotiating for 47 years, but nobody's ever hit them militarily. We're hitting them very hard. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, that was a long answer, but I think that gives you a pretty good snapshot of where the president's head is at. Interesting that he noted there he wants to be reimbursed for protecting the Strait of Hormuz. So they're going to put a toll on ships that go through, and America's going to keep the money. There's some saying that in itself could raise gas prices. I hope not. Let's figure this out. You know, there's more than enough oil. It is placed in different spots. We got to share it, and we've got to do it at reasonable prices. I mean, this is crazy, especially in the countries that have oil. Anyway, I got to move on. I want to play this for you. It is from Power and Politics on the CBC. Kate Harrison was the guest. She's on frequently, and Kate does a great job. I want you to listen to Kate talking to David Cochrane about an important issue.
This is after the Alberta government, the federal government, and the 5 major oil sands producers agreed to advance the Pathways carbon capture and storage project. A memorandum of understanding released today that promises to make it easier and cheaper for those oil sands companies. The project, of course, is a condition for the pipeline. Kate, your thoughts on this? That pipeline is a private-public partnership, which is 90% public.
I was going to say it's more public than private.
Yeah. And now there's a lot of regulatory reform promises and financial incentive promises to make carbon capture a reality. Yes. There's a lot of public risk in this.
A lot of public risk, a lot of public expense as well. I think it's notable that Canada is one of, I believe, perhaps the only oil-producing country that has carbon capture, utilization, and storage as a prerequisite to development. So I think a lot of Canadians are right to be excited about the prospect of a West Coast pipeline. I think it's also okay to be asking how much it's actually going to cost and whether or not we're actually doing the things, David, we need to do to fix the foundation of investment and private sector investment so that 90-10 that we just talked about looks a little bit different or ideally even skews the other direction.
We'll see.
Once again, Kate Harrison, the voice of reason, the voice of common sense. I'm surprised they aired that on the CBC, to be honest with you. I'm surprised they bring Kate on because she makes a lot of great points. That's an interesting perspective that I wanted you to hear about the pipeline debate. We're the only country that does this to ourselves, hamstringing ourselves with these insane environmental regulations.
Summer is here, which means we all want to look and feel our best. A GLP-1 may be right for you. Visit orderlymeds.com to learn more about which GLP-1 you could be eligible for. Getting started is fast, easy, and happens virtually through telemedicine from licensed professionals. Check it out for yourself. Go to orderlymeds.com/podcast. That's orderlymeds.com/podcast. Taking care of yourself feels great. Compounded medications are not FDA approved. Eligibility required and determined by a licensed provider. Individual results may vary. See website for details.
Now let's go to the city of Toronto. They're calling it a mass shooting that happened on the weekend at an outdoor street festival called Salsa on St. Clair. Now, I personally have never gone to this festival, but I do know it's popular. There are people who enjoy being in the neighborhood and doing whatever it is you do there at Salsa on St. Clair. Well, there was a shooting there this past weekend, and we're learning lots about it. Listen to Olivia Chow, Mayor of Toronto.
I have also spoken to the federal public safety minister and urged him to work with his American counterpart to stem the flow of illegal American guns coming onto Toronto's streets.
You know, it's not like America is shipping guns up here saying, go ahead and shoot each other. Clearly, there is a criminal underbelly that has figured out how to get those guns, which are sold in America, into Canada. Olivia Chow trying to make a distinctly Toronto problem all about America again.
Mayor Chow, you keep on mentioning illegal guns from the United States. What evidence do you have that this shooting, or any of the shootings that happened this weekend, involved illegal guns?
Well, no, I'll take that question. In this city, we recover crime guns regularly, and the vast majority, 85 to 90% of them, when they can be traced, are traced to the United States of America. This city has a handgun crime problem. These are not licensed gun owners. We are not arresting people with firearms who are licensed gun owners. That is not happening in this city in any meaningful way. The people we arrest with firearms quite routinely, our officers interdict people with illegal guns, are criminals. They are criminals without firearms licenses, and the guns they have are illegal. The vast majority sourced to the United States of America. That's been the trend for many, many years in this city.
He said that right in front of Olivia Chow. Olivia, I wonder if you could call your friend, the public safety minister, and explain to him what Chief Demkew there, chief of police for Toronto, just said. We shouldn't be going after lawful gun owners in Canada. It's the first time I've heard the chief be that animated on this topic. Sounds like he doesn't want to go after legal gun owners either. Handguns are illegal, full stop, in Canada. You're not allowed to own one as a private citizen. All of these people are criminals. That's reality. Call it what it is. We have people that are shipping guns up here because people up here want them and they want to use them. That's a big problem. And frankly, those of us who are not breaking the law, we're outgunned at this point. Going to move on to another topic. Somebody that I like to play fairly regularly here on Scott Fox After 9 because I usually agree with him, and God, does he ever make me laugh. Ron Butler, Ron the mortgage guy. Ron is talking in his latest social media post about a topic that I was talking about last week. Governments that tell us these sporting events are going to be great, and they spend all this money on them, and we end up losing a fortune when they told us they would probably be profitable or be great for the economy or what have you. Here's Ron, the mortgage guy.
Well, fucking fooled again by a stupid fucking sporting event, lies and taxpayers' money lit on fire, okay? Hey, I like the World Cup. Like, I'm an old guy, but I actually know about football, soccer. It is a beautiful game. Fuck, it's great, okay? World Cup's great, but paying for it is shit. Because FIFA's the greatest bunch of crooks, assholes, corrupt motherfuckers who ever drew breath. They are all the devil, okay? But no, we all put our hands up. Everybody go, oh yeah, World Cup, let's host World Cup, piss money away. Federal money, Vancouver and Toronto money, provincial money, hundreds and hundreds of millions pissed away. Oh yeah, we're going to get great economic benefit. No, fuck no. The hotel said they were slower than they were the previous year. Yeah, we're always fucked out of money by stupidity. Oh no, Ron. I mean, the profile of football is going to be so much better in Canada now. Fuck no, that's bullshit. Okay, if kids want to play soccer, football, okay, they'll play. It's a great sport. It's relatively inexpensive compared to the other sports. Okay. That's all. There's nothing else. It's not like having a World Cup here is going to have like every kid in Canada is going to start kicking a soccer ball. That's fucking stupid, okay? And the money spent on the worst bastards alive. FIFA, okay? Literally, they're the only organization in the world that's worse than the Olympic Committee. That's more crooked, more corrupt, more evil, okay? It's all garbage, okay? And we fall for it every fucking time. Olympics, we keep fucking falling for it. Commonwealth Games, we keep falling for it. Pan Am Games, we keep falling for it. All this shit. It's always the same thing. Some mayor jumps out and says, oh, this is going to be great. We're going to have great economic value. There's no fucking economic value. The hotel said they were slower during World Cup than they were last year. What's fucking crazy? Yeah, it's always just another gouge out of the taxpayer, more abuse of taxpayers, more money, Canadians' money flushed down the toilet, okay? For nothing. We could have watched. If the games were in another country, if they were all in the U.S., we just would have watched. Who gives a shit? This is...
Ah, jeez. I don't know. Does anyone disagree with that? The government gaslit the hell out of us leading up to this. The big announcement from Trudeau, I'm bringing the FIFA World Cup to Canada. Well, not really. You brought a bit of the group stage to Canada and a couple of knockout games. This is costing us a fortune, friends, and we don't have the money to waste right now. We have a government that is shooting taxpayer money out into the stratosphere out of a fire hose, and frankly, we are running out. We can't keep spending money on dumb stuff. You know? You got that friend who's got all the latest, greatest gadgets, and most of them are gimmicks that you'll use it once or twice and throw it away or lock it away in a drawer somewhere? That's where we're at. We're the people that are spending money on dumb stuff. We'd be driving Ferraris if we didn't spend all that money on dumb stuff. It's so frustrating. Couple of headlines that I want to bring your way before I wrap up this episode of Scott Fox After 9. This being reported from Canada Proud and various other news outlets. 5 workers in the office of Carney Liberal Sport Secretary Adam Van Couverden received free passes to attend the FIFA World Cup, an event that costed taxpayers over $1 billion. I touched on this yesterday. I don't think anyone's surprised to hear that those tickets didn't go out to regular Canadian families or kids who love soccer and dream of playing it but can't afford to go to a game. We knew they were going to get abused by insiders. And I mean, I thought there'd be some like bribes and stuff like that happening, and there probably was. But I mean, to just hand them out to people in the office? Really? Was there no one else more deserving of being there? I'm not quite sure why we would do that, but that's a sketchy one from the Office of Sport here in Canada and their parliamentary secretary, Adam Van Couverden. This being reported today by Blacklock's reporter, Minding Ottawa on Twitter. Please follow Blacklock's reporter. They do such great work there. This is independent media that takes no government funding, and God, are they ever good at doing investigative journalism through freedom of information requests. They find out so much stuff. Please follow them or follow Holly Doan. She is one of the reporters from Blacklock's, and she does a great job. It does cost to subscribe to Blacklock's, but honestly, it's money well spent. It's money worth spending because you got to get informed. And there's podcasts like this, sure, but wouldn't it be great to have an option that you can see on your phone and read and know it's coming from a valuable source and a source that isn't taking subsidies from the government? They are reporting today, Canada Post spent $194 million on climate programs while they were running record deficits and hiking stamp prices and doing all that other crazy stuff that they have done where they were losing $1 billion a year. They just got a $2 billion interest-free taxpayer bailout. They were spending $194 million just on climate programs. Now, why does this matter? Well, somebody got rich because we took a whole fleet across the country of Canada Post vehicles and basically wrote them off so that we could buy electric ones. Like, that's an example of going green to the extreme. Not even a transition. I mean, just throwing money out the door when you are losing money like crazy is irresponsible with taxpayer money. And did it make a difference? Because now they might even go under. In fact, I don't think there's too many Canadians that are going to be surprised or disappointed if that happens, especially when you hear stuff like this. The amount of money they pay out in bonuses. I'm going to get to that in a second. And now we find out they spent $194 million on climate programs at Canada Post. It is just shocking, the lack of good judgment and lack of empathy towards what taxpayers are going through. Spending money on all the luxury, all the ideals, while Canadians are lined up at food banks. Unacceptable. Next up, this one being reported by the Western Standard, another good outlet to follow. They are at Western Standard on X. The CBC redacted payment records about all of their commentators in response to the Western Standard's access to information request. Well, that's an interesting one. You see on the CBC all the time. They've got these panelists on, and they've got these pundits on. How much do they get paid? How much taxpayer money is going in those people's pockets? How much money does Althea Raj get paid annually to be on The National? What about Chantal Hébert and Andrew Coyne? All of the salaries were redacted. Hey, listen, if it's a private broadcaster, it's a private broadcaster. This is taxpayer money, and this isn't just the core staff that you need to function. This is extras. This is bringing in people to give an opinion on your show. How much did we pay them? Why won't the CBC just disclose that? That should be fair to know. Next one, Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand's department. This is the Department of Foreign Affairs. Fired 25 people and 11 others quit under investigation, including a diplomat caught in a, quote, inappropriate contact with unnamed foreign government officials. What is inappropriate contact with foreign government officials? 25 people fired, 11 others quit because they were being investigated. By my math, that's at least 36 people that I think Canadians need to know, are entitled to know what they were up to. What was going on there? What was happening in that department? How does that happen? I think Canadians are owed more info on that. That, again, is a story from Blacklock's reporter. Last one here, and this one is just crazy. In Ontario, the Minister of Tourism, Culture, and Gaming, Stan Cho, apparently this guy lives in Toronto. He's 6 kilometers from Queen's Park, 6,000 meters from the office. But he billed the taxpayers $16,000 in hotels over the last 3 years. Now, this is not my story. This is being reported by Global News. And maybe there's a good explanation for this. I mean, if the guy's in charge of tourism, culture, and gaming, I would assume he probably has to do a fair bit of travel. That's what I want to know. Is there a good explanation for spending $16,000 in hotels, billed to the taxpayers over 3 years, when you live 6 kilometers from the office? Hey, MPPs that come in from farther away, Ottawa, Northern Ontario, Windsor, even Kitchener-Waterloo, arguably, they might need a hotel because it's a long commute home after the session at Queen's Park or after the day at Queen's Park. Hotels are necessary from time to time. I want to know, is there a good reason for why we spent this $16,000? Or was it just a matter of, I'd kind of like to go and stay at the Royal York tonight, instead of going home 6 kilometers away? I'm not casting any judgment here yet, but I do think we are owed an explanation since that has come out. And again, thank you to Global News for bringing that story up. I don't know if it's going anywhere, but it's interesting to know. Finally, earlier I mentioned the shooting at Salsa on St. Clair in Toronto on the weekend. That wasn't even the only mass shooting event in Toronto this weekend. There was another one at, I don't know if I can say the club, because I don't know if the club was really involved in it, but it was at Polson Pier in Toronto. A lot of nightlife in that area. There was a shooting, and the person who fired the shots hijacked a rideshare vehicle which had passengers on board, apparently clipped a couple of pedestrians, and took off. Well, now we're finding out that that shooter was out on bail. He was free despite a torture conviction and the fact that he's facing other charges. It's complete bananas. How does somebody like that get out, let alone get out and be in a position where they have a gun and can carjack a vehicle? How does that happen? Our justice system, like they told us they'd make it better. They gaslit us with all kinds of talk about the Conservatives are trying to stall our legislation when in reality they just took their time passing it. Now it's the law. Are we enforcing the law now? Why are these people out on the streets? They kept telling us that they were going to make things better. Well, the law is passed, and it doesn't seem like things are getting any better. Last thing I'll do here, actually, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Earlier, I mentioned bonuses at Canada Post. Canada Post gave its executives and managers over $30 million in bonuses last year. They were getting close to $2 billion in a taxpayer bailout, and they spent over $30 million handing out bonuses to their executives. At some point, we're going to have a conversation about what makes you eligible for a bonus, because I think that is unacceptable. My friends, have yourselves a great day. Thanks for tuning into this episode. I tried to keep it to about 30 minutes, and I think that's a job well done, Scott. I'll catch you right back here in less than 24 hours.